there is no celebration for failure in the organizations, right? So how to balance that act as a leader? I mean, how do you motivate your employees, to not be afraid of taking that risk?
About how do you motivate people, right? And they are the most important part of any strategy or any organization. And with the Gen Z or millennials coming into workforce, their motivation levels versus someone who is my age group, let me put that way, right? Their motivation will be different, right? So how do you take care of the wide spectrum of employees that are there from this? Like young generation, in my experience, sometimes they need an instant gratification kind of thing. What is it for me kind of thing. So how do you take care of that? So sometimes you can have those kind of innovative contest or the continuous improvement contest and give them a rewards recognition. They also want to be recognized in their peer group. That may not be a monetary, but it can be more kind of giving them that, okay, I'm being recognized, and that can motivate a lot many people saying that, oh, this person, my peer got recognized, I would like to be recognized next in the next kind of thing, right? So it's a different level of motivation for each different people. How do you create approaches or programs which you take care of this different demographic that you have in any organization? And I'm talking about organization which is kind of 20, 30 years old, because that's where they will have this kind of different age group. And each has a different kind of importance. Some carries that expertise, experience of the industry. Some brings that energy as being a young, want to do, just starting their career and all that. So how do you take care of their different motivation is very, very important. And there is no one size fit all. It will be on that year or that time, what is more important to them and how do you recognize them?
You shouldn't just gloss over things. Be upfront. If you answer them truthfully, that confidence and the trust increases. And once trust is there, they'll move along. Whatever you tell, it will be done.
We've heard many stories about all successful people, be it Michael Jordan, be it Bez Jovis or anybody. Without failure, you can't get success. But how do you relate it to the teams? People like we spoke about Gen Zs or people just joining in new. In my view, it's telling them the bigger picture. What will happen with the success and what are we learning out of the failures? Any project implementation will come across a lot of hurdles. It will give you a lot of learnings. It will tell us what we did right, what we did wrong. And if we are able to communicate that to the teams and to the people, and there's learning around that, I think that's taken more positively. And there's an old saying, they say, I'm going to say it in Hindi, it says that तजुर्बा गलतियों से बचाता है, तजुर्बा गलतियों से बचाता है, मगर तजुर्बा गलतियों से ही आता है. So if you're able to communicate that to the people, then it's...
Learning and failing to an enterprise needs a different recipe, which is, and I'm just coining the word on the fly, which is like a measured learning, if I may say, right? Now, enterprises will adopt the technology which has chances of failure or, roll out the programs, but in a very measured way. Right, if you have X amount of budget, you are not going to bet everything on the newest technology, Gen AI. No, right? So how does it work? Typically, they would have some kind of a split in terms of saying my large part of tech, be it analytics, be it BI, be it anything that is very operationally useful, that layer you would go behind with a proven products, right? Enterprise grade ready proven products. But at the same time, to have the pace and benefit of the what's coming latest, you would have X%, and now that X can be 15%, 20% of your budgets into something which is experimentative, right? Which has great chances of, again, I'm saying learning, right? So, and then the team that is executing those elements need to have what are the learnings, as long as, so there is, in the context of enterprise, you won't see, there is no budget for the failure. There can be a budget for the learning, right? So it's a very conscious decision.
What level of disruption you're looking at actually? Is it a complete disruption of the business? Do you have appetite for that, or it's a incremental change that you're looking at? And I'll give you two examples, very recent examples. You can see those. One is you look at the German car makers, which is BMW, Audi, Mercedes. They all now came back and say we'll continue with IC engines for maybe another decade. And here is Jaguar, which said that we'll stop all IC engines and we'll only relaunch a completely very niche EVs next year, 2026. And this month, they sold only 49 vehicles globally. 49, which is not even one dealership worth of sales for Jaguar globally. So you want to embrace that change, or you want to pivot on what is already working and do an incremental change? That's a call we need to take actually. I'm not saying which is the right or wrong, but that depends on your risk appetite, what you want to really disrupt, to what extent do you really want to disrupt. Whether this Jaguar gamble will work or not, only time will say. But what the others are doing is that pivoting on what is already working and then making an incremental change. Everybody is doing that. So it depends on what is your actual goal, whether you want to do a complete transformation of your product line, your structure and all, or you want to do an incremental change and get going.
I agree with you because it's a very difficult call and it can be a disastrous call for that company as well if it doesn't work, right? But if you look at it, counterpart of it, right? If you have a plan B, you will not work on a plan A with that kind of a this one, because you know always you have a safety net to fall back and recover. So the incremental changes, now I know many and I follow the EV market very closely, is like many companies are coming with one model while they want to continue come out with their normal combustion engine model for some more time, right? So it's like, I will try this out. If it works, great. Otherwise, if it does work, I have my safety net intact. Maybe Jaguar has taken a bold so that I will remove the option B at all. So I don't have any option but to make it work and then align, as someone mentioned, that if you get all your organization's resources towards that one goal, you know that everyone in the organization knows that there is no option B. So they will kind of make it work. Otherwise, it's always like, I know I have big portfolio. One doesn't work. I know I have other one to kind of yeah.
One is, I was part of AstraZeneca earlier. So AstraZeneca went through a patent cliff sometime in 2007-8. Okay, so at that point in time, the initial decision was that we'll go into branded generics. In fact, I moved into that branded generics organization as the CFO for that thing in India because we were to source from here. So we did all the things, so many ANDAs were purchased across the globe. We were about to launch. Now, 2009, a new CEO comes, Mr. Pascal Scariot. I still remember his name. He came in 6 months. He took a decision. AstraZeneca survives on patented products or dies. Branded generics dismantled. Next day, the decision was taken. And now, if you look at after 15 years, now they're back. The turnover was, at that point in time, around 30 billion, came down to around 18 billion. Now it's around 40 billion, all on patented products. So that's the call he took. But at the same time, when you talk of BMW, I've been through their case studies. They're not, the decision to be in IC is not based on a plan B. Rather, they are saying we've done the analytics. Still, IC has so much of pace in it, so much will be there. So I will continue with it. But we will focus on EV. So it's a strategic call basis, data and analytics, and where they want to invest, and they have the wherewithal to invest in both the places. So it's again, basis, analytics, and what decision.
Where do you want to play? We are in the diesel engine business. So out of 34 billion, almost 32 billion comes from diesel. Rest is non-diesel, and we are also doing the same. Like we are investing, we're actually investing $800 million in a battery factory in Mississauga. Okay, we have purchased the world's 4th largest hydrolyzer company, but they're all the future-looking strategy. But the plan B, which is our core, that still continues strong. So it all depends on whether you're able, what is your appetite. If you want to really, really pivot and change, go a complete change, and that makes point. What he's saying is that forces you to adopt the new technology or the new direction, or you want to do both. So it all depends. It's a very, so we call it messy middle. We really don't know what's going to happen 10 years from now.
and you'll get examples of all mix of this, right? So um, two aspects I can call out. One is the industry. So going back to the basics, right? What you produce, who do you sell to, how do you sell, right? Now these examples of auto, if you say it's the same thing. Am I good at making cars, right? And am I selling it to customers? If I know that I'm doing good there, then how I sort of power the car on and which technology I adopt, that they are putting it on the backbone, right? So that's one way of looking at things, to say I am still sticking to my main sort of a recipe and IP, to say I'm good at making cars. We have a customer base and sort of a brand consumptions, and I'll continue to cater to them at the cost of disruptive innovation, if I may use that word, right? So that's one. And second is, again, going back to examples such as Amazon, right? Who, or maybe Starbucks, who initially, so they had their main product and they had a very different learning of the market. One, to say, if I am doing all my business through internet, internet requires, and my business requires massive amount of data. Can I have a different company and a product which only focuses on storage of the data, which is what when they invented AWS, like a cloud storage, right? Which is now a massive business. Similarly, you would have read a lot of articles to say, while Starbucks sells coffee, they were sitting on billions of dollars of cash, and they could have pretty much run a financial institution. So they are actually a financial institution more than a coffee shop. So two different examples. One is, can you use your knowledge of the industry landscape and customer and create something which is of exponential value, and be that business very distinctive than what you're doing at, so that there is no let's say loss of focus, right? If I may stick to the similar theme. And the other is capitalizing on your what you're good at and find new ways of doing same thing, right? Insurance product, nothing changed over years, years and years. I mean, you can take examples of 18th century where, or 17th century or 16, when it actually invented. The fundamental recipe is still the same. What are you doing, how you are issuing it to customer, how you are interacting with the customer, that has changed, right? But the base of the product is still the same. So you would see those things, and then you have the third segment, which is completely disruptive. Let's say tomorrow we do away with the paper cash, right, and we start moving the entire economy to, let's say, crypto and sort of a Bitcoin currency. That would be like a third, completely disruptive. So there are multiple segments where this is very contextual, to say what is the extent of failure, and what is the impact of that strategy on the core business, right? And we have seen examples. We have seen example of Kodak, which didn't innovate, completely failed. We have seen examples of Garmin, which earlier was into GPS. Then they realized that I might make sports goods. They're doing extremely well on the sportswear right aspects. So there are examples of all of these.